Greetings everyone, John here with a quick return to the world of Final Fantasy XV. You see, late last year, just prior to its release, Square Enix promised a patch for the game that would increase the frame rate for PS4 Pro owners. Many of us were pretty excited, as on paper, a higher frame rate does sound pretty good. And after 3 months of waiting, that patch has finally landed. So of course, we just had to test it. At launch, you basically had two options on the Pro then, a 1080p mode, which delivered a very stable 30 frames per second with mostly even frame pacing. This was known as the lite mode. There was also a high option, which bumped the resolution up to 1800p using checkerboarding, and this mode, well, suffered from pretty severe frame pacing issues, making for a very choppy experience. Now, while not everyone is sensitive to these issues, many users, including us, found this mode difficult to enjoy as a result of this highly jittery performance, which is why I ended up playing the game using the 1080p mode where performance was at least a very stable 30 frames per second. It was the best way to play Final Fantasy XV. With the new patch installed, however, things have taken a turn for the worse, and that option has been eliminated completely. The high 1800p checkerboard mode is still there, and it remains as jerky as ever. The frame pacing problems have not been addressed one bit. It's disappointing for sure, but not entirely unexpected considering how long these issues have persisted in the PS4 code. But instead of adding a third option with an unlocked frame rate, Square Enix has simply removed the 30 FPS cap from the lite mode, resulting in a highly variable level of performance, which is actually in line with the promise they made back in November. The developer noted then that this high frame rate mode would be coming and was currently operating around 40 to 50 frames per second. We had hoped that the extra time might allow them to push performance even further, but unfortunately, that's not the case. As of now, there is no longer a way to enjoy Final Fantasy XV with a smooth, stable frame rate on the PS4 Pro. Your only options are bad frame pacing at a higher resolution, or a wildly unstable, unlocked frame rate. That's it. Now, we recognize that some users do enjoy unlocked frame rates, and this is great news for them. It doesn't work for me at all, of course, but it is a nice option for some users. Unfortunately for many of us, the inconsistent frame times produced when using an uncapped frame rate are highly undesirable and result in noticeable judder. The game no longer feels consistent or smooth at all in any mode, which is really the issue here. Square Enix has removed the only option for enjoying Final Fantasy XV with a stable frame rate on the PS4 Pro. By adding a frame rate cap toggle, or even better, by fixing the frame pacing issues when using the higher resolution mode, this could have been avoided and everyone would have been happy. It's really what we were hoping for in the first place. As it is now, however, this is the new reality. A juddery, uncapped frame rate, or bad frame pacing. Your choice. So are there any benefits here then? Well, I suppose one could argue that controller response is improved due to the slightly higher frame rate. But the issue here is that it's just inconsistent, not faster across the board, since the game now bounces back and forth between 16 and 33 milliseconds at all times. It's really not optimal at all. I suppose if you want to play the game while looking at the ground the entire time, you could conceivably enjoy it at 60 frames per second, of course. Just look at that fluidity. There is some hope here, however. Throughout development, Square Enix has clearly listened to the feedback of the community on this game, and a lot of tweaks and improvements have been made to the game since launch. With that in mind, perhaps the team can fix this issue as well and provide options for those looking for them. I mean, I get it, on paper the idea of a higher frame rate does sound great, but clearly these inconsistent frame times just don't work for everyone, so an option here would be great, and maybe in another upcoming patch we'll actually have that option. We can at least hope for that, right? There's also the matter of the bad frame pacing in the 4K mode. Again, if this mode were fixed, then it would become the optimal way to play the game, at least for us. The Xbox One version uses a soft V-Sync in which vertical sync is dropped when the frame rate dips. Clearly, this implementation allows them to avoid bad frame pacing altogether on Microsoft's platform. Perhaps if they were to implement something similar on PlayStation 4, it might actually solve the problem. As it stands, I now believe that Final Fantasy XV simply plays better elsewhere. The standard PlayStation 4 version does suffer from frame pacing issues of its own, but the problem is less severe than when using the high mode on a PS4 Pro, making it a better choice here now. On the flip side, we have the Xbox One version, which offers correct frame pacing throughout. It does suffer from some additional slowdown and operates at a lower resolution, but it ultimately feels more fluid to us than other versions of the game at this point. Both versions are now preferable to playing the game on a PS4 Pro, and that's just not cool. Because after pouring countless hours into the game on the PS4 Pro, I'm now left without a good option on that system. So what do you guys think? We'd be curious to hear your thoughts on bad frame pacing versus unlocked, unstable frame rates. Let us know in the comments below. But that's all for now. All we can do is hope that Square Enix is listening to the feedback and implements an option to make everyone happy going forward. The unlocked frame rate is fine for those who like it, but it should be optional. But if you found this PSA useful, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on Twitter. And until next time, and hopefully under better circumstances, this is John signing off.